I'm gonna go visit Brett and see what he has to say. Brett, are you aboard? Brett, are you aboard? Are you here, Brett? I don't think Brett's here. Brett! Oh yeah. Yeah, I just went up and chatted with George. He's
what a legend, dude.
Quite a character. I love him, yeah.
He's got so many good stories, that guy. Just like on tap all the
well,
time.
that's what this one's about. You know, this the storyteller.
Yeah.
He can go on for hours. And
I mean, literally, you just give him a prompt and he started telling me a story off that. He's like, "Well, I actually remember."
Well, that's what we were talking about. I'm like, all right, act natural, and then he's just like, you know, he just starts going into like, oh, this is natural.
Yeah.
He just starts talking, and then you're listening, and then you're having this back and forth where like, oh, they're not acting, like this is an actual deep conversation. So I
can chat with George like that like all day long.
Yeah, and I was just hovering around and like ended up with so many cool photos. And
the process is sick. How you do the whole grid and everything.
Yeah. So once I get all my favorite photos compiled into this scene that
the pieces works. Of each one. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think I've shown you like this is cool, but your hand doesn't look good. But like, oh, the hand looks really good in this photo. So I like put that hand on.
Square over.
And
you do that all in like Photoshop, or?
I just have some kind of archaic program. It's really just I used to do it with photos and actually cut them and paste them and.
Sick, dude. Roots.
So. Yeah, so like this one's a storytelling. I have the other one, which is more like George giving you some free advice while you're working.
Which he's actually done a ton of. Like the guy's given me so much. Like I have questions, especially interior stuff. Like when I've refinished some of these countertops and stripped everything. Like I pulled all these pieces of wood off, and I was like, George, what's the method? Like, what do I do for this? And what do I do for this countertop? And he's like, oh, okay. And then he'll just give me like a 20-minute.
He's like, sit down.
20, 30 minutes of like full in-depth. But all right, but remember when you get to this point, you got to do it like this. So, dude, the guy's just untapped. There's so much knowledge, especially when it comes to carpentry and like stuff. And, yeah. So.
Well, it's surprising that carpentry is his forte, but he knows everything about almost everything about everything else too. It's like, wow, if you could just harness all that and lock it down and be able to access it whenever you need it, like that's the beauty of having like older people in our community.
Dude, it's great. George is incredible.
Yeah. Well, people ask, talk about buying a boat and doing work, and like, but I know nothing about boats, and like, just join the yacht club.
Literally, dude.
Just sit at the bar.
Yeah, I mean, I joined the yacht club. That's how I've been getting slips. Is because I meet people in the yacht club or someone in the yacht club, like Joe Yag knows someone. He's like, oh, this guy's renting his slip out, or I mean, Art. I was like, oh, sweet, like.
Yeah. So you were my neighbor for what, 3 months?
3 months. I'm coming back too, and
all right.
after I luckily found the guy that's in there now.
Okay.
To take it for 2 months, or else I was gonna pay for it for 2 months.
Well, cool. So you got George with his great advice and storytelling, and then the one I'm working on now is more melancholy. And as I was going through these photos, it reminded me of a time that I reached out to George when I was like rock bottom emotionally, and he's such a good listener too.
Dude, such a good listener.
And that's rare to have someone who can talk for hours, but also can just shut up and like be so empathetic and compassionate and just hear you out and give you some heartfelt, not even if you don't need advice, just
if you just need an ear.
Love, man.
Oh yeah, dude. He's got a lot of love, man, that guy.
Yeah, and I think that's how me and you first came. Like I've you were over here, and I remember you and your girlfriend, and then there was a point where she disappeared.
Yeah.
And then there was a point where my wife disappeared, and then we bumped into each other in the parking lot. It's just like
both in the same boat. We're like, oh man, what do we do now?
So that's community, and we've got still decades ahead of learning and experiences. So it was with I guess. These people come into the gallery as I'm working, and they see this painting and the other ones, and they're like, wow, they've come up with a story. They see it, and they're like, what a great story. And I'm like, what story? Like, you tell me. And, I have some of them don't know George.
Probably not. I mean, a lot of people walking by probably don't.
He reminded me of this moment where he's just like, you guys are chatting, and all of a sudden he's like, look at the blue whale. And she's like, what? But it was a nice moment of the gesture was pretty pretty extreme, but it works great for the storytelling vibe.
You nailed it, dude. Like, my God.
Well, I even questioned in some of these paintings, questioned in the background, that I put up. I kept it pretty accurate. I left a motorboat in the background, and you can tell, it's at least the 90s. But I could have left it more open, mysterious. Like it could have been any time in the last 100 years, or more. But I'm also telling a story with a timeline too. What's unique about the paintings, kind of like photos too. But 20 years from now, this whole building might be gone, and there might be a 6-story hotel, and we'll look back and be like, oh man, remember that time? Right now we're like, what an eyesore. Yeah. But sometime we're gonna look back and be like, that was so cute. That little hotel.
Sick. Yeah. Dude, I totally agree. And the boats will change, and everything will change.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Probably get a lot more newer modern boats at one point. And
so the last 2 paintings I did of Oceanside people were Tom Manook and Monty Earley, who've passed away. So I'm like, I gotta start painting people while they're still alive. And then I'm like, Brett's not looking so hot. I should get a painting of him pretty quick.
He's been working, stuffing a lot of paint on that boat. He's probably not gonna last long.
He can get these done this year.
That's my goal, dude. I need to, that's like, I'm all right, it's time. Let's wrap this thing up, so.
Well, cool. It's as you're working, I've been wondering, like, it's like getting worse.
Yeah, dude. And literally, I felt the same way. I'm like, oh, I'm all right. Then
he should have just left it.
I should have just maybe left it, but like this stuff I found, like the bowsprit, like was rotten.
Yeah.
And George helped me with that.
Yeah.
He was right there when I pulled it off.
He's like, yeah, gotta go.
And I was like, what do you think? And he came back over, and he's like, I was like, do you think I could? Because I initially was just gonna cut like a wedge and like chisel like kind of like a bow tie into it. Okay. And like a big chunk. Yeah. And then he came back over, and I had like with my bare hands dug out most of the wood. And he's like, I had like this much on each corner. So the corners were good, but like it was hollow this way and it was hollow straight through. And he's like, dude, that's done. Like, you know what, you want to, that's your whole rig. He's like, you want to, you want to trust your whole rig on that. Like, it's not really worth it. I was like, yeah, damn it, George, you're right. I'm gonna have to build a whole new bowsprit. So, but it's cool. I'm stoked. Like, I finally like set a date with my buddy to go and do it. We're gonna laminate some Sitka spruce together and then shape it down. He's got a sick shop, and
wow,
yeah. Well, and then I'll be, it'll be like kind of a cool thing. I built my own bowsprit.
Oh, we have the same
4108
engine, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. All right, dude. I appreciate it.
Thank you, dude. I'm so stoked on this. You crushed it, man. It's so rad.
Yeah. So in a few weeks, I'm having that art show, and there'll be at least these 3. Hope maybe more. And
I mean, you crushed those out so fast. I would imagine you'd have some more.
It's about a week of work each one. Yeah. So, and that's that consistently.
Seems fast to me though. I don't.
It moves if you're not the one on it. It seems fast. People walk by and they're like, oh, another painting.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
But you're the one on it, so it doesn't seem that fast. You're like, that was a whole week. Like
yeah, and if when someone stops by your boat next summer, they're gonna
Yeah.
be like, "Wow, that was quick."
Yeah.
You're like, "What?"
No, it wasn't.
So, all right, well,
Yeah,
cool.
dude,
I'm
super stoked on that because I don't know. George is my idol, and it's pretty epic to be that you chose to paint us or me with him. Even though I was like,
Yeah.
like George makes sense, but you wanted to paint me too. I was like, all right, sick, dude. Like,
A lot of people are like, think this is a self-portrait of me in these paintings. And I'm like, that ain't me. I'm like, but you know, there's an archetype that people are connect with, and
Yeah.
a few people. One guy yesterday was like, this is a painting of me. Because he looked kind of like George. Yeah.
No way.
And it's
see, it is. I guess
people
it's
aspire to be these characters. Like like that ain't you, man.
Nice try, but that's cool though. I mean, it's like cool. People can relate to it like that though. You know, they can just.
Well, that's what art's. That's what art's about. It's like
put their own story to something that they have
a
no
way
idea.
a way to connect, and there's different emotions that are evoked that people are really resonate with, and so we'll see what comes after these three, but just wanted to say hey and check out your vessel. I've never been inside. Love it.
It's a piece of work, but it's
keep it up,
chipping away.
keep it up. All right, awesome.
Cheers, guy.
Okay. Yeah.